Welcome back. Andrew with Tabletop Farms here. Well, back to mowing again, cleaning up after the cattle's aftermath here. Got about 2.5 inches of rain the night before last, I guess. So we're up here, right behind me. You can see the ragweed and goldenrod mostly is what's left out from the cattle going through this. We do rotational grazing. Speaking of rotational grazing, I'll share the story. You saw the thumbnail, so I'll share the story, but you're going to have to wait for that just a little bit. So we're cleaning up that. We're supposed to get another inch of rain, 3/4 of an inch to an inch of rain here in another 2 days. So going to try to stay hot and heavy on their trail and kind of clean up after them. Primarily, this field has a lot of goldenrod and ragweed in it because, well, let's just give you a little more history on the farm. We moved up here in 2016. No, we bought the farm in 2016, and 2017 we moved up here. At that point, I wanted to be a farmer. I've had backgrounds in habitat management, farming, and a lot more, and we can get into that some other time, but I wanted to be a farmer. So all these fields that are on the home place here, I call the home place are the 113 acres that we purchased, plus the other 113 acres that's in the same track that we manage, was all pasture at that time. Really overgrown pasture, lots of locusts, hedge trees, really taken over. So it was old pasture. So we had the bright idea, or I had the bright idea, that we'd bale it and we'd spray it and we'd crop it with beans, actually. We have another 40 acres across the road that was continuous soybeans, probably close to 35, 40 years continuously. That is an area I'm going to take you over there one day here soon and show you. That's going to be a major project. There's a 13-acre field that was in that 40-acre tract that was in beans that continuous time. We have since bordered it with native grass, pollinator habitat, and been bale grazing in it, put it in rotational and cover cropping it. So getting back to these pastures here, we came in, planted soybeans, used a very minimum amount of chemicals at that point, and we did that for several years, but we cover cropped after every harvest. On average in the spring, I was planting, you couldn't see the tractor going through the field because of the ryegrass that I was planting into, and that's the only, we sprayed that after I planted to burn that down, and that was the only chemical application we'd ever put on this farm. We did that until 2018, and 2018 was our last year putting beans in the ground. They got about 8 inches tall, and we never saw rain again that spring until late in the fall, and that was a major drought here in North Missouri. So we decided, I quickly, when I heard rain was in the forecast, quickly put a cover crop in, and did I think it was a 23-way mix at that time. By mid-October, we had fields of green everywhere. So we decided we'd get out of the cropping business and we'd go back to cattle and see what we could do at that point. So we did that. We put it out that we'd do some custom grazing, and we had calls all the way from Florida to Tennessee to Iowa, everywhere. We had a local individual here that was very interested, and we worked out a deal, and it was just a few days and we had cattle out on the cover crops, and we've had cattle here since. We own a small herd of our own, but they are grass genetic cattle. These are just a run-of-the-mill sale barn black Angus. We actually have all first calf heifers right now. So I believe there's 118 of those. So that's a little bit of history, and that's why there's so much ragweed and goldenrod. Is we are slowly, the seed bank is there, the fescue seed bank is there, the grass is there. We see more orchard grass, we see more timothy every year. So we are patiently patiently waiting. We'd still do some spring cover crops in here. We will do some oats and things like that, but I don't, some brassicas and different stuff, but we're really trying to get a perennial grass back in. So that's what we're kind of doing here. So that's kind of give you a background on that. By the way, I'm on our southernmost fence line here, and this is the view we get to look at when we're up on this hillside here. So there's quite a bit of projects I'm going to be doing in this field. Not a very good picture, but I get here. This is a draw right here. Right above this draw, right about in there is a spring or a seep, and we've got another one right where that tree is. There's another seep right there. So water's filtrating into the ground, and that is hitting bedrock, and that's where the bedrock comes out. And so we've got water going down that draw, and that feeds into a creek all the way through our property. So we've got water almost 365 days a year just running in that creek. So we get to enjoy these views. Going to do some more projects around here. But getting back to the cattle, like I said, we rotationally graze. We move the cattle every single day around the farm. And then when we go over to the other farm, we just cross the highway. We literally open a gate and 2 lines across the highway, and they cross the highway. So the inmates have escaped. It was, I don't know whose fault it was. It was nobody's fault. Not a really big deal, I guess, in the scheme of things. But we forgot to put a small fence around a gap that is on a creek crossing. So sometime today, this morning, I think they stayed actually in the 5 acres we gave them last night pretty well. They were in there this morning. But sometime today, they figured out that there was access to another field. So they crossed the creek and went over there. In fact, they jumped probably about 3 or 4 days ahead of where we had planned, which for me kind of causes me a lot of angst and grief because it's not according to plan. And that's the kind of person I am when it comes to the cattle and stuff. It's the cattle are the tool for the land. So it's just it gnaws at me when the things don't go to plan. So, but in the overall scheme of things, it's not a huge deal. This evening, I'm actually going to go down there to the creek, and I've got some really nice grass over right where they were going to go tonight, and see if I can't call them back all over. If not, we will just seclude them in that area where they're at, and we'll pick up continual rotational grazing where we left off, and continue to move them that way. But I wanted to give you a little bit more history on the farm tonight. I think we're going to do an interview, we'll say, and kind of introduce the kids to you, and Lisa to you. You've met Lisa, and she's done one post with me so far, but kind of get you an idea of what they do. Ella really maintains the pigs out in the pastures. So I know that they're getting ready to move, and we'll be doing a video with that. So we'll do an interview there. And David does a lot with the cattle, but also does the chickens. So he's getting ready to move the chickens as well. So we will do a little interview and things with that. And we've seen a video with him with the bees. So he's got a lot on his hands. He just started middle school, or is getting ready to start middle school. He'll be turned 13 in a couple of days, actually. Well, about a month. And he's hot and heavy into football for the first year. So that's a big deal for him. Ella's got her permit and just getting ready to get her license. So we're driving all the way around and doing that kind of stuff. We've got flies all around here. So I wanted to give you that. little history there. And I guess that's it for this evening. We will. We did get the high tunnel done. Let's see what else we've gotten done. Well, we'll get back to the gardening stuff. Any comments or questions on the gardening stuff? Love to hear them. I'd love to do some more of that. If cattle are kind of more of the things you guys want to get into, we're going to get into some swales. Oh, there is a. I think we are going to be going down to Tennessee in the 1st of October. There is a festival down there. It's titled Reliance Festival. Lots of good speakers down there. Lots of good presentations. Good people going to be down there. So if it's something you're interested in, Reliance Festival, look it up. Me and Lisa, don't know if the kids are going to go there. Grandparents, Lisa's parents live over in the St. Louis area, so we've got to go through that area anyways, so they may be taking a pit stop over in St. Louis. I don't know. They kind of liked going over to the last one we went to, so we're going to leave that up to them. Tell you what, guys, here's an example. This field was the exact same way. Just absolutely socked full of goldenrod. There's all kinds of ragweed. I don't see any ragweed right now. But cattle have been through this area as well. And already, it's been 3 days. And already, look at that clover. Everywhere there's clover now. So this is here's a pipeline clearing right here that we maintain clear for a pipeline, and this is where Ella shot her deer last year. She was actually sitting right up on that hill right there. This thing runs on our middle of our property essentially and runs north to south, but big hill there that we'll throw some more clover on those hillsides. But you got me here. I'm just standing on, look at all that goldenrod that was sitting in here. That'll all break down now, make really good organic material. But this is a deer haven down in here in this bottom area. Just a little small 2-acre bottom field here. So just trying to feed the soil. We'll get grass back. We don't want a solid grass field down here for sure. I mean, I'd really take a pretty high diversity of clover in here. This hillside is in developing. It was really getting overgrown with hedge, and you can see all the hedge and everything in there. There was a nice big oak tree that was sitting on the edge of that hillside, but we are right now cleaning it and maintaining it as a silvopasture. So I'm sure at one time this whole hillside, which goes all the way over, was timber at one time. Probably cleared, and we are going to put it back to where we have oak trees on that hillside. Probably an oak hickory dominated hillside like a lot of Missouri is, but until then we'll let the locust trees come up. Those are a good legume. Deer like the seed pods. Grass grows underneath of them really well still, so they're dappled shade, so we'll allow those, and we'll let trees like that nice oak tree right there to keep coming up, and we'll clean around it and maintain it to where it can do its thing. And we've got a really good diverse of oaks around here. We've got really nice giant white oaks. Chinkapin, we've got a lot of bur oak. So just really nice diverse. We try to maintain, this is a creek that flows all the way through this big block of timber and goes all the way down and meets up with that drainage ditch I was talking about on top of the hill. Right over there in that corner, right there in that corner, it meets and continues down through the property. So we've got two major drainage ditches that comes through here, but I like to maintain at least 20-30 feet. Sometimes it's not quite that, but this is a thinner spot right here. But we let that grow up. We don't let the cattle get down in that creek area. Let that for habitat, wildlife. We do have a little bit of issue around with bush honeysuckle. So that's an invasive species. Birds like it, but it's not good for anything else. So we are dealing with that a little bit. We do have a little bit of autumn olive around here, but it's not near as bad as it is down south. So I don't really worry about that too much. So, but thought I'd jump in here and give you this little tour. Here's our reels that I'm dealing with. On a side note, it is a 3-to-1 geared reel. We use the Tarragates reels out of New Zealand with this red tracer. I believe that is a 6 stainless 3 copper in that line. So we run that almost exclusively on the farm, but I really like the Tarragate reels. Just getting back in from doing the cattle, picking up some temporary line from the last 2 days so we can get them trapped and get our rotational grazing back in sequence here, I guess. Getting ready to head out to the gardens. We've got that cat tunnel done, and I need to get it prepped so I can get it planted. I may run out of time tonight. It's 9 o'clock here in North Missouri, so gotta get it planted, prepped so I can get it planted. Hopefully yet tonight. Just so further discussion, I reckon. A little bit more about me and Lisa. Like we've said in the past, we bought the 113 acres back in 2016. Moved up here 2017, I believe is when the time frame was, and she'll have to correct me if I'm wrong on that. I may very well be. I'm horrible with dates like that and names. But moved up here in 2017, did all that. Lisa did have a job when we moved up here. We moved up here from Central Missouri area. She did have a job over at the local college. I did not, however, have anything. Actually worked on the farm mainly. I did get a part-time job off the farm when we first moved up here. There was a small ranch house that was built in the 60s here on the farm. Um, it needed work, and it quickly became in disrepair. So the shop I'm actually in right now has kind of been our living room slash entertainment area. We've actually been living in a trailer for about a year now, year and a half. I'm getting ready to, in the spot behind me here, that couch is, I believe there's some tape right. Well, there's some tape on the floor rack here. It must be right behind that chair. It's all right. Anyways, right behind that chair, there's some tape. Getting ready to build one bedroom, and we've got concrete work coming. I don't have time to do the concrete work out here, so I've hired some concrete finishers. I've got it semi-graded, we'll say. I've got it dug out. Not much for them to do to frame, add some rock, and get that poured out. Then I will be building an addition and a summer kitchen onto the shop here. We've got the big walk-in door right there where all the coats are. I'll be removing that, and that will go into 2 bedrooms. The main man door over here will be still used, but it'll be going into a summer kitchen with a an old style princess stove, wood burning stove, cabinetry in there for Lisa to be able to do her canning and summer cooking, essentially. So we're going to actually move into the shop as for right now. We are still looking at what we want to do in the future as far as house plans. There's lots of different options we've looked at. We just haven't kind of made up our mind yet. So this is kind of the easy, quick way to get out of the trailer that we've been in for a year and a half. So we're going to go ahead and do that. On the other side of this wall here, we actually have one of our small walk-in freezers that is not on. We're actually using it as a germination chamber for our seedlings. We do have a certified kitchen on that side as well. But where I kind of was going with the whole thing as well is Lisa still does currently work at the college, and I actually work full-time as well now. So the 1,000 acres we manage on a day-to-day basis, very little of that acreage is actually touched. Even on a week-to-week or month-to-month, very little of it's touched. A lot of it is in CRP, pollinator, habitat. It's got about another 5 or 6 years, probably, I think is the time frame in that for that to come out of that. And I'm hoping that we're able to convert that over into grazing native grasses and doing some more swale projects, food forests, adding some fruit trees and things like that in those areas. We've got a lot of projects that we want to get started. We want to share all of them with you from start to finish, hopefully. I'd share this build out on the extension on this, but there's just so many channels out there that do building and home building that I'm not going to teach. I'm not an expert by no means. I've had my hands in construction all my life, but it's not really anything new. We're just going to stick build that, and I can show you the progress as we go through. Definitely will do that, and especially on that excuse me, on that summer kitchen. So thought I'd share that with you. But going back to the land, we both hold full-time jobs today, and we don't really know how to define what we do. We're gearing ourselves more towards homesteading. Obviously, 1,000 acres and homesteading kind of don't go hand in hand. I very much look at that 1,000 acres. Again, we don't own all 1,000 acres. We manage the 1,000 acres. So looking at that more in the holistic area and permaculture area to be able to do a lot of big projects on that that won't have necessarily day-to-day touches. But we still, with that said, we still do have a breeding, three breeding sets, three sows, a gilt, and a boar. Currently, we have 3 sets of piglets on the ground and running. I think we have a few of those still for sale as well. So those have to be touched every day and looked after. Those are also moved. Should be weekly. I think this batch has kind of gotten away a little bit further than that, but they are going to be getting moved in the next couple of days. We have layer hens. I think we're around 100 to 150 right now. We go all the way up to 400 in the past, but with the way feed prices have been, it's just been crazy. We pre-sold almost all the eggs that we had this year, and kind of went that direction with them. But those have to be touched daily, fed daily. We do that on a more commercial. I'm really interested in Billy with Perma Pasture Farms. He's using compost to lessen his feed cost drastically, almost free to feed his chickens with compost. So check that out. I believe it's called Chicken Tractor on Steroids. That was a really good presentation. So I'll give a shout out to him for that. So we've got the layers. We do normally broilers. Last year we did just shy of 4,000 broiler chickens. Again, with feed prices, we really cut down on the broilers this year. And we're done with broilers already this year. Normally we'd be doing a batch, probably another run of batch when we get into the batch right now. But we've got those, of course, the cattle that we've got on those. I think that's all we've got right now. But we're doing a lot of experimenting with the cattle. Minerals, we'll get into those here one day here pretty soon. I'll show you what we do for mineral. They're about due for another treatment of mineral, we'll say. I'll show you how we did that. We had a really, really bad explosion of pink eye earlier this year. And we got them over that fairly quickly within about a week to 2 weeks after it was said and done, and I think 98% of them were cleared up and the pink eye was pretty much alleviated. So we can go through that, but those are a few of the things. And the other thing that I'd mention, that we've kind of stepped back, we're stepping back a little bit and evaluating how we're doing things and what we're gearing ourselves towards. We've been very customer based. We sell all of our produce, the meats locally. We haven't shipped anything as of today. That's something we've looked at, but we've never pursued further. So everything's been done at local farmers market, roadside stands. We have some, very little farm pickup, but we do have some. And then we have a local produce wholesale auction close by, so we do utilize that some as well. But all this to say, we are still defining ourselves. We're still trying to figure out a lot of things. So I would share this with you from experience, and there's a lot of guys out there that say the same thing. I'm pretty hard-headed. I've heard them all say it, but I was under the notion that, we'll say that we're in a very, very remote area, that we have to do all of this in a large scale to be able to make an income and make a living off the farm. And that is our goal, is to make a complete independent living on the farm. We're pretty close to that if we want to scale back on a lot of things, which we could very well do. Got the kittens wrestling back here, it sounds like. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but sorry if you can. I'm sorry. But really evaluating the scale of what we're doing. So I would share this advice: is it's fine to do more than one enterprise, but with that said, start slow. If you want to do 2 or 3 enterprises, I say go for it, but start small, and grow into it. Give yourself 2, 3, 4 years before you even really grow into that. I mean, if you're selling out, by all means, grow a little bit, but don't think just because you're selling out every year that you just need to go gangbusters and triple what you're doing on each one of them. That will probably burn you in the end. So that's just my little advice. Is my hard-headedness is finally loosening up, and I'm kind of seeing the light that we are needing to just evaluate where we're coming from with the crazy prices on grain, things like that. The cattle get, as of on our place, the cattle get no grain whatsoever. Even the custom grazing herd, we do not feed any grain to them. They are 100% grass pastured. I say grass, but pasture based. And then we do feed, obviously, hay in the winter. I don't think last year we didn't feed hay until mid-January here in North Missouri. So we do stockpile grass. But the pigs, chickens, broilers, they do get grain. I'd love to figure out, and like I said, permapasture farms, love to learn more on how to lessen that cost in feed, but that is definitely the goal, is to make a living on the farm. So with all that, probably just rambling on, go ahead and conclude this. Any questions, comments, observations, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us. You can find us on our website, tabletopfarmsmo.com. Here on Facebook, here on YouTube, Tabletop Farms, and then we also have a Facebook and a Instagram. We're not very active on Instagram, but we're trying to get more active on that as well. So we'd love to hear from you. If you give us a like on this video, if you can, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, want to see more. Until then, pull up a chair and welcome to Tabletop Farms.